Brook Lynn Ashton is back on General Hospital with another new face but the same history. However, for newer viewers who might not remember that history, we're here to fill you in with some highlights. Who plays Brook Lynn? Brook Lynn was originally played by Brooke Rating when the character was first introduced back in October of 1996. Brook Lynn was written out in 2001 but returned in 2004, played by Adrienne Leon. After leaving in 2006, Leon returned in 2010 for another stint that lasted until 2011. In November of 2019, Amanda Setton, Kimberly, One Life to Live, became the third actress to play the role, though in August 2020, she went on maternity leave and the role was temporarily recast with Brianna Lane. By November, the character had left Port Charles again, but Setton was back in the role by March 2021. Who are Brook Lynn's parents? Brook Lynn is the daughter of Ned Ashton Quartermain and Lois Cerullo. Following her parents' divorce, she was raised by her mother until moving to live with her father as a teenager. She befriended Georgie Jones and Dylan Quartermain, but resisted their suggestions that she pursue her singing professionally, as it was what her mother had always pressured her to do. Brook Lynn knew this was the only way she was going to get Dante away from Lulu. Ron Tom/Walt Disney Television by Getty Images. Things got worse with her mother when Lois got involved with criminal Lorenzo Alcazar, so Brooke gave her a taste of her own medicine by cozying up to Diego Alcazar. However, despite her running away to Mexico with him and trying to help him find out if Sonny Corinthus was responsible for his father's death, Brooke was left out in the cold when Diego turned to Maxie Jones. Worse, she wound up as Maxie's roommate at Port Charles University. When Brooke was drugged at a party and nude photos of her were later circulated, she realized that Diego was the stalker behind it. He wanted revenge because he blamed Brooke and the other teens for Sage Alcazar's death at the Quartermain mansion. Brook Lynn and Dante Brooke decided to leave Port Charles to finally pursue a music career, but returned a few years later after she was cut off from her trust fund. She earned a little extra money from Carly, who hired her to seduce Dante Falconeri away from Lulu Spencer. But after finding Dante truly loved Lulu, Brooke had to resort to drugging him so they could be found in a compromising position. But when Lulu saw that he had been drugged, Brooke tried to throw Carly under the bus, but Carly turned the blame right back around on her. Nicholas didn't look like he minded being fought over by Liz and Brooke. Howard Wise/JPStudios.com. Still not wanting to turn to the Quartermains for help, Brooke found work with Nicholas Cassadine, being his companion for business functions and various events. But as they began to develop real feelings for each other, Elizabeth Weber tried to get her claws into him herself. Although Nicholas chose Brooke, he later urged her to pursue the offer. She had to go on tour with the band and the two parted as friends. Why did Brook Lynn return? Brook Lynn showed up in Port Charles again in November of 2019 when she drowned her sorrows in Charlie's pub and struck up a conversation with Julian Jerome. It turned out she was hoping to use some of the Quartermain influence to get rid of her former manager, Link, who was pressuring her into finishing out her contract. Ned refused to bail out his daughter, so she decided to sell her shares of VLQ to Valentine Cassadine in exchange for him getting Link off her back. The minute Brook Lynn and Lulu saw each other, it was like old times again. XJJohnson/JPStudios.com. Ned offered his daughter a job at ELQ, but Brook Lynn accidentally exposed a secret deal in a social media post and was fired. She lashed out at Lulu for posting the story about her mistake, and the longtime rivals had a vicious catfight that got Brooke arrested. Later, they tried to make peace and Brooke asked Lulu if she could borrow her boyfriend, Dustin Phillips, who she'd known back in the day, so they could collaborate on a new song. Why couldn't Brook Lynn sing? When it was revealed that Brook Lynn had sold her shares to Valentine, Ned was so furious with his daughter he threw her out of the mansion. He was planning to perform a new theme for Deception at the 2020 Nurses Ball, but when she stumbled upon Nell Benson plotting Wiley's kidnapping, Brook Lynn tried to call the cops and Nell attacked her, slitting her throat with a pair of scissors. Thankfully, she survived, but still refused to accept her father's apologies and crashed on Harrison Chase's couch instead of going home to the mansion. Brook Lynn left town keeping a big secret from Valentine. ABC tasked by Lucy Coe with performing a new song to promote deception, Brook Lynn asked Amy Driscoll to provide the voice as she was still unable to sing after her throat injury. Unfortunately, during a live performance for a potential investor, Brook Lynn and Amy's deception was exposed and she got fired. After learning that Ned had cheated on Olivia with Alexis, Brook Lynn was disgusted, and every attempt to get the father and daughter to reconcile failed. One night, Brook Lynn sought comfort in Valentine's bed, and when she decided she needed to go back to Bensonhurst to get some perspective on things, she had a pregnancy test in her bag. Was Brook Lynn pregnant? When Brook Lynn returned to Port Charles in March 2021, she was sporting a massive baby bump and wasted no time informing Valentine that he was going to be a daddy. She also used the unborn child as leverage to pressure Valentine into giving the shares of ELQ he'd snatched up back to the Quartermaines. The only problem was, Brook Lynn wasn't actually pregnant. Realizing she was going to have to produce a baby so Valentine would keep his side of the bargain, she partnered with Maxie, who actually was expecting a child. Maxie was willing to go along with the crazy baby switch plan so she could protect her daughter from her dangerous father, Peter August. But Valentine moved himself, daughter Charlotte, and bodyguard Yuri into the Quartermaine mansion to keep a close eye on Brook Lynn, so it was tough to pull off this crazy scheme. When Valentine got suspicious, Brook Lynn finally came clean and told him he wasn't really Bailey's father. However, before she could tell him the real truth, Chase stepped in and claimed to be the girl's baby daddy. But having the cop in on the scheme isn't making it any easier to keep lying to everyone to keep Louise safe from Peter. Stay tuned to GH to see what happens next. Love GH? Be sure to join our We Love General Hospital Facebook group to chat about all the latest storylines and juicy gossip. Ad block test, why?